United we play, united we win.
Deep right field, another absolute bomb over the flag court.
We are family.
Outstanding effort again.
We're busting ours to kick yours.
That's big time.
-15.
Respect all, fear none.
Oh, did he belt that one?
Intensity is not a perfume.
It was a no-doubter.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Orioles Hot Stove Show on MASN All Access is presented by your Baltimore area Toyota dealers. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota and let's go places. Hey everyone, welcome into the Orioles Hot Stove Show here on MASN All Access. I'm Mortensen as pitchers and catchers have officially reported to spring training down in Sarasota. And that was kind of the hope, right? That we would come to you with some excitement about that getting started. However, the leading story today is, of course, the injury news that Mike Elias has provided down at spring training, most notably in the starting rotation, as Kyle Bradish will start the year on the injured list with a UCL sprain, and John Means is about a month behind schedule and is presumed not to be ready for opening day, and some other smaller injuries as well. Samuel Basayo has a stress fracture in his right elbow and is going to be limited at big league camp. We were really excited to see him as a non-roster invitee. And Gunnar Henderson has some oblique soreness. Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde didn't seem overly concerned about that, and hopefully he will be ready for opening day and can get ramped up here at big league spring training. But as mentioned, there is a large impact here on the Orioles' opening day rotation. There was a lot of excitement and buzz surrounding the Corbin Burnes trade, and of course, he's still an ace. You still look at the top two in the starting rotation, and you have a lot of reason to be excited with Burnes and Rodriguez. Dean Kramer bumps up from your presumed number 5 to your number 3, and assuming that both Bradish and Means are not in your starting 5 to open 2024, that means that guys like Cole Irvin and Tyler Wells could be joining the starting rotation. Now, Cole Irvin was really solid down the stretch for the Orioles, had an ERA in the mid-2s after August 1st, and Tyler Wells, we know, was one of the best starters, if not the best starter in this rotation for the first half of 2023. But guys that we thought would be in the bullpen to begin the year could now be in the Orioles' starting 5 to begin 2024. And for more on these injuries and the impact that it could have on Orioles pitchers, I sat down with our MASN Orioles insider, Steve Melewski.
Yikes. I feel like Muhammad Ali just clocked me right across the head.
Yeah.
There's some crazy news out of Sarasota, as, of course, we're taping this, so we don't have every detail or everything tied up right now. But you hear Bradish mentioned, and you hear Means mentioned, and that's just horrible to hear. So, I mean, fingers crossed for some of these guys that it'll be on the better end of it. But obviously it shifts some things around now, and we were wondering, is Tyler Wells going to go to the bullpen? I think now Tyler Wells has to go back to the rotation, and the Orioles have to kind of piece it together here. Yeah, well, our initial thinking here, Steve, was we were going to talk about some of the non-roster invitees. We know you're our prospect guru here. We'll start with the pitchers, I suppose, because part of that conversation was, hey, you've got 3 exciting arms, top 30 prospects in Chase McDermott, Cade Povich, and Justin Armbruster here. The initial conversation was going to be, what do you want to see from those guys at big league camp? Now, I think the conversation shifts a little bit to what do you need to see from them at big league camp? Yeah, that's interesting, because the messaging from the team, it felt like their thought process on guys like Povich and McDermott was they need to go back to AAA. We know Cade Povich had a 5 ERA. McDermott had a little bit of a better year on the stat sheet, that they need more seasoning at AAA. And I don't think that will change because of some of this news, but a door is ajar for those guys, you know, to maybe go out and have a great start to their season, and an opportunity could open up sooner than we thought. Yeah, especially a guy like Chase McDermott, who put up quality numbers at AAA Norfolk last year. All of a sudden, you could be looking at that timeline progressing a little bit, maybe for somebody like Seth Johnson as well. But let's shift the conversation onto something a little bit more exciting here. We know the big topic of conversation at spring training with the non-roster invitees is, of course, Jackson Holliday, the #1 prospect in all of baseball. Steve, from the conversations that you have been having, from what you've been hearing,
What do you think the odds are that Jackson Holliday cracks this opening day roster?
I say they're good. And I follow up with what Mike Elias told us in Nashville, that there's a pretty good chance this kid is going to make it. Now, we have to keep in mind that even the biggest Orioles stars struggled initially in the major leagues. Maybe not Gunnar, but when he started the second year back last year, he did struggle. Well into May, there was talk of Birdland, should they send this kid down? Adley Rutschman went 20 games without an RBI, I'm pretty sure. Had like a 180 average or something. So here's the question about Jackson. If he has a start like that, can he handle it, and can the Orioles withstand that? Would they stick with him? I think he absolutely could handle it, because this kid, while he looks 16, has 30-year-old maturity. I mean, he just really understands the game, the process. He knows what's going on. And would the Orioles stick with him? I think, yes, they would, like they stuck with Gunnar. This is one of their top kids. They're not going to bail on him with a 2 for 20. And just so much talent here. I mean, here's a crazy comparison, but this is what I see. I'll say it. I see Bobby Witt left-handed, but not Bobby Witt today. Jackson's not ready to produce those numbers today, but in 2 or 3 years, the numbers that Witt is doing now, maybe not steals. Jackson's not as fast as Bobby Witt, but other numbers, I think he can approach some of them. Homers, it maybe comes up short, but this kid's going to be a stat sheet filler.
Yeah, I mean, a really high 5-tool potential type of player for Holliday there. And I think the follow-up question there is, if Holliday makes the opening day roster, is he going to be a starter? Are we going to see him get everyday reps, more than likely at second base?
I think the Orioles are going to do what they've been doing and put the best lineup out that night, so there might be some platooning in there. But I think when they look at Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson, those guys are not going to be off the field very much if they're on the team. And if you're going to have Jackson Holliday on your team, it's not to play 2 or 3 times a week right now. That wouldn't be doing him a service. So I think, maybe he would sit against some tough lefties, or if he has a tough series, they sit him a little bit, but he's not going to do much sitting if he's in Baltimore in April and March 28th.
Yeah, if he is on the opening day roster, hard to imagine that he is not one of the most talented 9 that the Orioles could put on the field there.
Right.
And that infield in general, among the non-roster invitees, is really exciting with guys like Kobe Mayo and Connor Norby. After Joey Ortiz was dealt to Milwaukee, do you now see maybe a more clear path for somebody like Mayo or Norby to impact the big league club this year?
Most definitely, and Connor Norby's the guy that really flies under the radar, because we're talking about all these other guys, and you run out of time to talk about all of them. But I mean, had another good year. The downside is defensively, he's probably kind of wedded to second base. He could play a little bit elsewhere, but not with the versatility that some of the other guys like an Ortiz did bring. But the bat is solid, and it's just about his time. Mayo, 29 home runs. Guy had like a 950 OPS, 960. Was one of the best hitters in all of the minor leagues across the board. And he's only the 3rd best prospect on the Orioles right now. So pretty cool.
Now, is Kobe Mayo somebody that we should be talking a little bit more about in terms of this opening day roster? I think it would probably be a little bit of a stretch to imagine he breaks camp with the team, but he still had an OPS over 900 at AAA last year, and there is some potential playing time available at third base or potentially a corner outfield spot.
Right. Today, opening day, I think is not his time. He could prove us wrong here over the next few weeks and do some special stuff and push his way on, but so many infielders right now. Even at third, you got O'Hearn and Mountcastle going to take some time up at first base.
Right.
So Kobe Mayo, they're going to have to find room for this kid eventually. How they're going to do it, we don't know yet. That's an unanswered question, but his time is coming.
Now, finally, Steve, we did hear some unfortunate injury news around Samuel Basallo, but sounds like he's still going to be able to get some work in at big league camp as a designated hitter. He's just 19 years old. What are you expecting from Basallo here?
I mean, it'll be really fun to see him hit against major league pitching in exhibition games. Last year, Brendan, weighted runs created plus, he led the organization. Jackson Holliday was second. Kobe Mayo was third.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Basallo, who led all Oriole minor leaguers. He had a better weighted runs created plus than the number 1 prospect in baseball, and a guy who hit 29 home runs. So this kid's game is complete as a hitter. The walk rate got better. The K rate came down. He's not just a homer guy who runs into a few with big power. He's a good hitter who also hits home runs. Hit tool, power tool, plate discipline. 19 years old. So exciting what he can do, and the exit velocities are loud. So this will be a fun year. He should probably start at Bowie. He's going to hit a lot of home runs in that ballpark in Bowie.
Oh yeah, would imagine so. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see some of these top prospects down in Sarasota at Big League Camp. We know our MASN Orioles insider Steve Melewski is going to have us covered all the way. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brendan.
The Orioles Hot Stove Show on MASN All Access is presented by your Baltimore area Toyota dealers. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota, and let's go places. Well, of course, the Orioles made a big splash a couple of weeks ago in acquiring Corbin Burnes, but Mike Elias has also been doing his due diligence on getting some depth. Maybe not huge names, but over the last few weeks, we've seen additions with guys like Tyler Nevin and Nick Maton. And over the last week, the Orioles made two more in Levon Soto and Peyton Burdick. We'll start with Soto there. He was the 14th ranked prospect for the Angels back in 2021, just entering his age 24 season. He played in 4 big league games last year, had 2 hits and 3 walks, but really you're looking at his AAA stats if you want to see what you've got in Soto. He's a middle infield hybrid type of player, can also play some third base, and he had a .736 OPS in 79 AAA games last season, so could be a Joey Ortiz type of replacement for the AAA Norfolk Tides. And in Peyton Burdick, maybe a sneaky pickup there that we could see at the big league level in 2024. He was acquired from the Marlins for cash considerations. He was their 10th ranked prospect as recently as 2022, but he is entering his age 27 season, so a little bit older. He's got 125 major league at-bats under his belt, a 200 average, 5 home runs, and a .649 OPS, but he's got a .775 OPS in 115 AAA games last year. He's a corner outfielder, can play center field, but you're probably looking at him as a left fielder or a right fielder. And Burdick has some serious pop in his bat. Last year, a 116 mile an hour max exit velo that would have ranked him 15th in Major League Baseball, and his 12.7% barrel percentage would have led the Orioles. So maybe with a few swing tweaks here and there, the Orioles could have something in a right-handed platoon bat in Peyton Burdick. Well, that'll wrap things up for the Hot Stove Show here on MASN All Access. Next week, we've got the spring training report starting up. We'll have live coverage on MASN from Orioles spring training down in Sarasota. Big thank you to Amy Jennings, Bobby Blanco, and Matt Bonaparte behind the scenes. For Steve Melewski, I'm Brendan Mortensen, and we will